Your heart pounds, your vision narrows, the threat is real. After years of training, most martial artists freeze in a genuine attack. That is not a skill failure. It is a mind failure. Here is what matters, and here is how you break into the 1% who act. The 1% rule is not a metaphor. It is a statistical reality. In any high-stakes encounter, only about 1% of trained martial artists execute their techniques effectively. The rest hesitate, freeze, or revert to primal responses. This is not about talent or rank. It is about how your brain responds to survival stress. When the amygdala perceives a threat, it floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. Your heart rate spikes. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational part of your brain, shuts down. You literally lose access to complex thought. That is why you can drill a technique 1,000 times and still forget it in the moment. The 1% are not more skilled. They have trained their minds to override the hijack. They operate in the survival stress state. They control their breathing, narrow their focus, and rely on deeply ingrained gross motor movements. That is the difference. That is what you must build. Research by Bruce Siddle and Dr. William Lewinsky shows that fine motor skills degrade dramatically under stress. When your heart rate exceeds 145 beats per minute, complex movements become unreliable. At 175 beats per minute, cognitive processing collapses. Your brain reverts to gross motor patterns, the movements you learned as a toddler. Most martial arts training focuses on fine motor skills, precise blocks, intricate footwork, detailed joint locks. Under stress, these techniques become useless. You cannot perform a complex wrist lock when your hands are shaking and your vision is tunneling. You need techniques that work with gross motor movements, simple, powerful, repeatable actions. That means strikes, elbows, knees, and basic defensive movements. Train these until they are automatic. When your brain shuts down, your body must know what to do. This is not about style. It is about survival mechanics. To break the 1% rule, you must understand the freeze response. It has 3 phases. The first is cognitive freezing. Your brain is overwhelmed by sensory input. You cannot process the threat. You stand still, eyes wide, mouth open. This is the most dangerous phase because it invites the attacker to strike. The second phase is motor freezing. Your body is flooded with adrenaline, but your muscles lock. You cannot move. You are a deer in the headlights. The third phase is behavioral freezing. You attempt to act, but you do so ineffectively. Wild punches, stumbling, hesitation. Each phase is a window that must be closed through training. You cannot think your way out of a freeze. You must train your body to move before your mind can interfere. Scenario-based drills that mimic chaos close these windows. You need to practice under stress so your body learns to act despite the fear. Colonel John Boyd, a fighter pilot and military strategist, developed the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, act. Under stress, this loop collapses. You fail to observe the threat, orient incorrectly, decide too slowly, or act ineffectively. The 1% compress this loop. They observe the threat in an instant. They orient based on pre-learned patterns. They decide without conscious thought. They act with explosive power. This is decision-making under duress, and it is trainable. You cannot rely on conscious thought in a fight. You must train your brain to process information faster. That means running drills that force you to observe, orient, decide, and act in rapid sequence. Start with simple scenarios. A partner attacks with a punch, you respond. Then add variables: multiple attackers, weapons, environmental noise. Each repetition compresses your loop. Each drill makes you faster. Most martial arts schools focus on technique accumulation. They mistake complexity for effectiveness. They teach a curriculum designed for a controlled environment, not for the unpredictable, violent reality of a self-defense situation. The result is a generation of martial artists who can perform beautifully in the dojo but are utterly unprepared for the street. To break into the 1%, you must train unpredictability. That means unscripted sparring with multiple opponents. It means weapon simulations that introduce sudden, unexpected threats. It means environmental stress, loud noises, flashing lights, physical exhaustion. The goal is not to make the training brutal. It is to make the training unpredictable. Your brain must learn to adapt. It must learn that the world is not a linear sequence of attacks and defenses. It is a swirling maelstrom of violence, and the only way to survive is to move with it. Under stress, your eyes tend to lock onto a single threat: the weapon, the attacker's eyes, the movement. This tunnel vision is a natural response, but it is a liability. It prevents you from seeing secondary threats, escape routes, or changes in the attacker's position. The 1% train to control their visual focus. They use peripheral vision to maintain awareness of the entire environment. They do not stare at the weapon. They watch the attacker's center of mass. They scan for exits and additional threats. This is a skill you can develop. In training, practice shifting your gaze between targets. Use drills that force you to track multiple attackers. When you spar, keep your head on a swivel. Your eyes are the gateway to your situational awareness. If you control them, you control the fight. The 1% rule is not a death sentence. It is a challenge. You can train to be in that elite group. It requires a deliberate shift in how you practice. Focus on gross motor techniques that work under stress. Drill them until they are automatic. Incorporate scenario-based training that mimics real-world chaos. Control your breathing to keep your heart rate down. Train your visual focus to maintain situational awareness. And above all, train unpredictability. The 1% are not born. They are built through thousands of hours of specific, stress-inoculated training. You can build that same foundation. Start today. Run a scenario drill. Add stress. Repeat. That is the path. The 1% rule is not about talent. It is about training your mind to act under pressure. Start with one scenario drill today. Add stress. Repeat. That is how you close the freeze window. That is how you become the 1%.